name is Alberto Veronica Lopez, aka Mr. Lopez, adjunct professor at Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas, real life artist, and more importantly, your teacher for this lesson today. And today's lesson is on plants and fiction. Plants are perhaps the most successful, one of the most successful living organisms on Earth, and a very large field of study. As such, I have prepared a presentation for you all, and so I should become smaller on the screen, and you should be able to see my presentation on plants and fiction. What are plants? Well, plants are very many different things. There are very many different types of plants. Let's go through them, and I'll say some of the common things between them all. Not all the common things, but some. What you can see here is a pine forest. If you went back in time 300 million years ago, you would see a similar sight. And that is because pine is a non-fruit, non-flowering plant. And so those were the first type of trees and plants that sort of thrived on land that many years ago. Knowledge allows us to go back in time through knowledge. Knowledge allows us to go back through time. Because of that, 245 million years ago, we're able to find records of flowering plants. And flowering plants you can think of as alarm clocks for fruit. The flowers attract the bugs, and they grow. They can only grow when the weather's right, and when the bugs or whatever pollinates them is able to be around and is able to pollinate. The fruit you can think of as a reward for doing all that, and a means for transportation of the seed. And because an animal digests it, it's able to be deposited all over the land. And because the land was taken over by plants millions of years ago, naturally, we name places after the dominant plant that is growing there. Where there are a lot of trees, we call them forests. Where there are a lot of grass, we call it grasslands. Where there are no plants, we call it desert. Also, another type of plant is moss. A type of a mistaken plant is mushrooms or fungus. It has its own branch now on the tree of life, but it used to be considered a plant. There are sea plants. Sea plants you can find on everywhere around the earth, and they provide wonderful habitats for fish and other sea creatures. Most importantly are the microscopic plants, the phytoplankton and the zooplankton. But the phytoplankton, you can see there are so many in the ocean. They float on the surface, and you can see them right here in this spiral eddy. And that's how many plants there are. Just in an exorbitant amount, just a lot of plants. An eddy is formed whenever two ocean currents collide or where they meet. Last but not least, the carnivorous plants. So there are a lot of different types of plants. And what binds them all together, right here you can see this Venus flytrap's eating a bee, and it's doing so because it needs phosphorus from the bee's body. Delicious crunchy treat to it is. And so what binds together all these plants are a couple features. What makes a plant a plant? And first thing is called cellulose. So cellulose, you've touched your whole life. Probably you've touched cotton before. This is a cotton field in the sunset. It's quite beautiful. And cotton is, or cellulose, sorry. Cellulose is very strong and flexible, and all plants have it. Their cell walls are made of it. Another common feature of plants is their ability to photosynthesize, and that's to absorb light and carbon dioxide and water, and they produce sugar. They're sugar addicts, these plants. And then because of it, they produce oxygen. They do this in their chloroplasts with chlorophyll. Here's a cell walls with chlorophyll. And what we will be focusing on today is flowering plants of all the different types of plants. So the most diverse plants of all land plants are the flowering plants. Again, you can see here on this diagram all these different parts. The pistil and the stamen, and of course the petals. Underneath is the sepal and the receptacle and the stalk. Think about them as alarm clocks, or a system to use animals as an alarm clock to produce fruit at the right time, in the right place. And so, if we go 245 million years ago, we'll see the first flowers. So that's what our fossil record shows. So, but this is an art lesson. So, this next section is on fiction and botany. And so botany is the study of plants, and fiction is the gift that nature gave all humans. And it didn't give to other animals or organisms that we know of. It gave them intelligence and other things, but we are the only ones with fiction. And so 5,000 years ago, this plant was made. A giant beanstalk that goes into the sky. And what we know it now more modernly is Jack and the Beanstalk. And you can see a lovely illustration of that right here. If we go, again, 5,000 years ago, but perhaps a more realistic, a more naturalistic way, but yet still stylized, we can look at the style of the Egyptians. And what you see is an Egyptian man, and he's holding a flower. And that flower is a blue lotus, or a water lily. As you can see here, it's very symmetrical. It's very perfect. In fact, it looks like this. You can see these asymmetries, and you can see all these small details that the Egyptians did not capture. What they wanted to capture was the overall impression of this perfect beauty. Of the thousands of examples that there are in history and all across time, I think the best example for this project comes from the Codex Seraphinius, printed in 1981 by Luigi Serafini, an artist, architect, designer, very smart, creative person who made up his own world and his own language and created an encyclopedia on it. And it's very bizarre from what I know. But in it are these amazing plants. You can see there's this cloud plant, and it's raining down on the flower down, growing in the center. And they almost look real, but they're not. And so what we can gain, and you can see how each one's named, what we can gain from Serafini is that we can take knowledge from science and combine it with art, and together we can create something fantastic and truly unique in the world, so that our fiction that we all have is more informed and more rich. So what we need to create such an illustration is piece of paper, a bit of paper towel, some watercolors, a pencil, some water, a large brush, and a small brush. As you can see, it's about 1/2 inch. This is a rounded point. All right, so if you have that, please take it out. I will move some of these and we'll get started. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw the seed. Remember, these are flowering plants. Why do flowers happen? To make fruit. Why does fruit happen? To spread the seed. And once we spread the seed, a new plant grows and the mission is complete. The mission of life. So in the middle, in the portrait position, not the landscape, remember it has to be taller than it is wide, we're going to make a small U. Right here. We're going to make a small U, and then from that we're going to draw a curve that goes up. We're going to stop, make a little curve up at the top that curves down and to the right. And we're going to draw a curve that goes down to the right. Fantastic. Our next line is going to be up and to the right. It's a curve. And we're going to stop. We're going to draw a small little lip. And then we're going to draw a curve and back to the right side of the little U that we drew in the first place. So please do that. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to come down and what we can do is draw roots. We can paint roots, or we can draw the plant first. There's a couple ways to do this. There's no one set way. But what I'm going to do something fun, a little bit more fun. So I'm going to draw 2 dots. I'm going to skip the root making process for now. Draw 2 dots about 2 inches above. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the right dot, go all the way to the right, make a dot there, and then I'm going to make another dot, stay on the right, between my right dot and my new right dot, or my further right dot, or dot number 3. I'm going to draw dot number 4, which is halfway between this dot and that dot, and is about a 1/4 inch above this rightmost dot. So, halfway and above this dot. Okay. So, I'm going to go to the left. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to explain it in a different way also. So, I'm going to go up about 1 inch and then over and make a dot there. And then from that dot, I'm going to go right about halfway between this dot and that dot. And I'm going to go up just a little bit, 1/4 inch, make a dot there. Fantastic. Okay, now what I need is a second dot. Or now what I'm going to do is I have these 2 dots and these 2 dots, and they're fairly similar. So between this dot and this dot is a halfway point. And so I'm going to come up about 1 inch, how about 2 inches here? I'm going to do 2 inches above this dot. So I'm going to do that to the right. So between here and here is half. And now I'm going to go up to this dot, it's height, and I'm going to go up 2 inches and then make another dot. See that? Pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a dot here. So right above, I'm going to go to this left dot down here, go up, make a dot there, go to this right dot, and make a dot there. You can see it's just a little higher. It's about an inch above this one. So I went over to this dot, and I went up an inch. You go to the right dot, go right above this one, go up 1 inch. That's where we need that dot. Now we have this dot and this dot. On the left, we're going to go over halfway between, again, this dot and this dot. So there's a halfway here. I'm going to go up a little bit and then make a dot there. I'm going to go to this pair of dots, halfway between that. I'm going to jump up here, make a dot there. Fantastic. And now I'm going to draw a dot here and here. And then what I want is halfway between here and here is a halfway point. I'm going to go up. And I'm going to make a dot right here. Same thing for this one. Halfway between here and here is a halfway point. And I'm going to go all the way up, make a dot there. So you guys can see it's a slight angle. But this dot is based on the halfway point between these two. And this dot is based on just going straight up. Okay, cool. Zoom out a little bit so you can see what's happening. Okay, so now the next dot is here and the other dot is here. So it's right above this one. And our next two dots are here and here. Okay, so you have all these dots. What are we going to do with them? I'll show you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go right here to this first one on the right. I could start with the left or the right. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to zoom in. And what I'm going to think about what my plant is made out of. Is it a jagged plant? Is it made of iron? Is it made of chainmail? Is it made of ice? Is it made of glass? So it's perfectly straight. Is it made of fur? Is it made of coal? What does that look like, right? Is it made of rock? Is it made of rope? So you have to ask yourself that question. What is my plant made out of? So, mine, coincidentally, is made out of cloud. That's what my plant's made out of. So I want to start here. And my first line needs to go from this point to the end point, to this edge point here. So I'm going to draw a cloud line. So think cloudy. Little bumps. That, okay. Now because I did that, that means that the whole plant, all the dots will be connected with different types of cloud line. So it's a very important decision, but it's really fun. So have fun with it. So I'm going to connect, make a dot there. So I'm going to connect this dot to the middle dot, and then I'm going to connect it back to here, to where I started. So I'm going to jump and move to this dot here on the left, and I'm going to do the same thing I did on the right. Now, if you want something more asymmetrical, instead of starting here and creating the cloud, what you would do is you would perhaps start here on this opposite point. So you would share your points like an electron. So, for clarity's sake, I'm going to start right here on the left. Go to the right. Puffy cloud shapes. Stop there, second point, and then go there. And stop there. Okay. There's a reason why there is no center. Or if I showed you how to make a center, please continue making the center. Okay. So, next three, I'm going to start here. And do this, right? It's a cloud. And it's really random. See, it's the fun part about knowing what type of line you're going to make, because you're not afraid, you're more spontaneous. You're more natural in the way you draw. And it's not nerve-wracking. So I have that. And now I finished the left side and the right side. Okay. So maybe this is what asymmetry would look like. I'm going to start on this right, and I'm going to make a cloud that goes to the left. See, I chose, because it's normally 3-point, 3-point, leave these two alone, right? There we go. Okay, so I have that. So in some classes I've shown you how to connect all this together, and in other classes I haven't shown you how to connect the clouds. So this is one of those cases where I don't show you how to connect the clouds till the very end. And so I have these two little points, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw these two little points right here. And I know clouds can do whatever they'd like. And because of that, I'm going to connect all these clouds with a very crazy line that starts here and ends here. If I've showed you, for a very simple, connect all the clouds with a fairly straightforward line that connects all the clouds. And if I showed you how to make roots, please follow along in the drawing and how to make the flower. For those waiting for coloring, I'll show you how to color. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to think cloud. Okay, it went there. I'm going to say it goes behind there, and I can't see it. So it goes here and does this, and then it goes behind here, and then it comes out here. And then I'm imagining another line going next to it. So I'm not willy-nilly creating this. So I have that. I can't see it, so maybe it reappears there and does that. Okay, so that's my first line. So I'm going to go on the right and then do this. And then maybe that. So this is really fun. It's very relaxing also. There. All right. And then perhaps my cloud ends there, and then I can draw my roots. Now for the flower, what you can make, if you want to make a very large flower, you make a dot right in the middle at the top, and then you're going to make a dot on the edge and go directly across on the other side and make another dot. And then right below here, you make another dot. And so you have a diamond. You can think about it that way. And what you're going to do is you're going to connect the diamond with your lines. That. Not pretty. Okay. And now what I'll do is I'll connect these 2 points that have the stem and the sepals. I'll do that. And then in here, I'm going to draw the ovary where the seeds are ready. They're waiting for the pollen to tell them to become a fruit. And then if I go straight up, it means that the pistil, P-I-S-T-I-L, is here. It's made out of cloud. It's pretty. And then what I need to do is, I know that there has to be antheres and there has to be pollen sacs. So then that means that I have this anther, like this antenna. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little cloud. Now, if you have like a furry plant, maybe you can make little dogs or little cats there, or little rainbows. It's really up to you, whatever you think your pollen is made out of. So I'm going to draw over that, and I'll make sure I color over that. You'll be drawing in pencil, of course, so you can erase maybe in here and say that you can't see that because this little cloud's in the way. And so then I'll draw the other one, and then that looks like that. Okay, so now I have my cloud. And what I need to do now is draw my roots. Draw the roots. Okay, so how to draw roots? Curve. And I'm going to make it like a real plant root. And it's like a tentacle, okay? So I drew a curve, and then I made a thicker curve. I decided that it's going to be, the other curve is going to start here, so I can say it's that thick. And it's going to be line, and then it comes, and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner as you get. And then once you get to the end, you can make like a little squiggle, like that. And then from here, if drawing a root's like changing your mind. You come up, you made a decision, and you go back on your decision, and then you make another decision. So that's what changing your mind is. Looks like a root. Right? And so I can decide to end it short, and then maybe I'll squiggle this one here, like that. And then from here, I'll say I'm going to go back on this decision and make a root that comes off here. Like that. And make it smaller, and then squiggle. Like that. So I'll do that. So I did 3 squiggles. I'll do this to the right side also. So I have my roots. And then do another one, go back on my decision. And then start again. Try not to make it too thick. There you go. And now draw again. This time it's here. And maybe it was that. It was a fat root. There we go. And now what I'll do is see these little tendrils. I'm going to go back on their decision, and then I'll do more. Imagine you're the plant and you're looking for nutrients. So you go down this way and you're like, oh, I don't have enough nutrients. How about I grow another little tendril here to eat these nutrients? And then Here, there's a big empty spot, so it's like, hey, how about I grow a little tendril here to eat these nutrients? And then this little tendril's like, oh, you missed the spot right here. So you can keep drawing a lot of wonderful roots. They're really fun to do. You can spend forever on them. So I'll make sure draw just enough to fill in the composition. So here's another. So I went back, draw another decision, went back, draw another decision. Here, draw another one. Like that. Go back, make another decision, make another decision. Make a little decision right here. Okay, and these need it. And these need it also. Okay, and then I'll connect these to those. And we're ready for color. So, we need color, watercolor. We need a little bit of water, a large brush, and a small brush. We're going to start with a small brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of water and dip it in the water. Add about 2 drops to my brown. And I'm going to swirl it around. This is how you get some color made. So this is how you make your paint. And then I'm going to brush right here in this spot. And so what that does is it basically gets rid of some of the color in my brush so that when I brush, it's really light. So I'm going to paint this really quickly, the seed. So that's what I want you to do. Paint the seed first. Paint it quick. Okay, fantastic. So it should be nice and light. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the right side a little darker than the left. So I'm going to mix this up really thick. And then I'm going to add extra darkness on this side. And at the bottom. I'm going to say that that side is in the shade. And what we're going to do next is, it's really important, it's to learn to paint with the tip of our brush. So instead of holding your brush, imagine this is the paper and you're looking at it, my brush from the side. I'm brushing this way. I don't want to brush that way. For really, really small lines, I want to turn my brush almost straight up and down. And I want to use the very, very tip to brush a very, very small line. And so that's what I'm going to do whenever I draw. If you go to this little bump right here, I want you to draw a little line that's dark. And it makes a little line like that. So you have to use the very, very tip for it to work. I'm going to do that to the right side also. Fantastic. And then if you have that down, if you got really good at that, we're going to make little lines, very small lines. And so I want little spaces in between them. So I keep skipping. And what that does is it allows me to make the seed look like it's a stone fruit seed. It's like a peach seed. See that? There we go. So that's how you draw the seed. I'm going to wash this brush, this small brush, and then I'm going to dry it off in my paper towel. My next color is going to be either a cold or a warm color. It's up to you. You can do any color you'd like. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick a cold color. I think what I'll do is, I'll do blue. Add 2 drops, swirl it around, and then what I want to do is I want to paint my roots. Now some classes, they have to paint the roots just by painting them. Very smart. Saved us a lot of time. But it gives us less planning, so I'm sorry for that. So I'm going to draw little lines here so I'm able to make this gradate or become darker as it comes down. Do that, little lines. And then I'm going to paint these nice dark blue. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to pick a cold color or a warm color and then color in all your roots, all your wonderful roots. Use the very, very tip of your brush for the smallest bit. It's really fun. And you can see, because you drew in pencil, you can always color over it. I drew in marker, so it's a little harder. If you feel inspired, you can draw new roots. And I think you guessed that maybe the large brush is for the clouds. And it is. It is that. So, I'm going to keep going. Use the tip of my brush. And what we're trying to do is go over all our marks that we made. Spare no mark. Making this extra thick on this side. We got another one here. Right. So keep going, keep painting your roots. The more careful you are, the happier you'll be about your roots. There we go. So we have our roots colored. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my large brush. Now, students, this is decision time. There are no real ways to color this picture. I'm going to give you some suggestions. You can follow them, you cannot. It's up to you, really. It really is. So I'm going to paint my cloud flower a certain way. I'm going to pick a sunset flower. And so I'm going to start with yellow because it's the most easy color to paint over. So I'm going to get a bunch of water. I'm going to put it right here. You guys can see I dipped it in the yellow earlier, so it's yellow water now. I put some yellow. Now I'm going to swirl up the yellow. And I'm going to add it to all this water. And now what I'm going to do is quickly paint my cloud, like the whole thing, quickly. Now you could make them cotton candy pink clouds, as really up to you. So see what I'm doing? I'm adding the color, the yellow, down here, and then what I'm gonna do, if you ever get to your bottom color, wash it and then clean it off, or else the yellow over here will turn green, and I don't think you want that. So this is how I'm painting mine. You can choose to paint yours polka dotted, leopard. It could be wood. It could be made of red rubies, striped like a tiger. Up to you, it's up to you. Don't be afraid, this is art. So you guys can see I'm really quickly painting all this color. I'm picking up some of the extra water over here and adding it to here because I don't really want a lot of water, or else it might be a bit too wet to paint more colors on top of. So really fast, you guys can see. Aha! Look at that, beautiful yellow. Now with my large paintbrush, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move up. So I picked a warm color and I'm going to go up in darkness. Maybe I'll use red for little bits of pink, but not really. I'll try not to. But I'll move up, and then at the end I'll use cold color. So if you start with cold colors, pay attention to where you think you should put your warm color, like a bright little spot here and there. Because in real life, our flowers are all green except the top, right? So pick your color. I mean, the top could be really dark and then everything else could be really bright. So think about how you're going to paint. It's really fun. Try out different things. Don't worry about too much. So right now I'm finding a clean spot, putting some water, getting some orange, and making a little puddle of orange. And then what I'll do is paint orange on top and leave the edges alone. So I'm leaving the edges alone of yellow. Adding orange everywhere. And what I'm doing is building color so that it looks like a sunset later. So more orange, more orange. So quickly, because if you really think about it a lot, it'll be a bit too contrived. It won't look as good. So I'm making the underneath of the flower a little bit darker, and then the top will be darker in the center. And so I'm going around my pistil on purpose. So really quickly, gently. Right. I'm going to get a little bit of water, and like you can erase from the edge with a little bit of water. and then clean it off. And now what I'll do is I need to paint the inside. I have to think about what the inside cloud, the seed of the cloud looks like, and then what these little pollen clouds look like. So I'm going to darken some of these clouds now. So, well, maybe I'll add a little red. Here, let's add a little red. A pink here and there. Maybe the pink is on the edge of this flower. Can't be red like that. It has to be much lighter. There we go. Pink. So I make the red a little lighter with water. Okay, fantastic. All right, I'm going to clean that red off of there. And again, remember, I started with warm, and now I'm going to end with cold. So I'm going to go to the purple, mix it up a little bit, find a clean spot, get a lot of water. And then I'm going to pick the bottom of the cloud. And I'm going to add purple to it. So that it looks more 3D. Pick spots to make it look more round. Get a little bit more water. As you can see. So this is what I mean. Start with cold, end with warm, and if you start with warm, end with cold. See there, and I'm going to add more darkness under here. And then a lot of darkness in here, because it's the underside of the flower of Maharalio. And at the end, I'll paint this something different so you guys can see. Very beautiful. Make sure there's a nice dark spot here so that this pops out. And really I'm adding purple underneath. That's really the only rule you can think about. And then I'm making it lighter because I don't want it to be really dark. I want it just to be a little purple. Okay, I'm going to get my small brush and I'm going to find the best color I could think of for it. And then maybe I will go after this red, this really deep red, so that I'm able to differentiate the little pollen clouds from everything else. Fantastic. And so, just like Mr. Arnold Feeney, or Mr. Serafini, I'm able to create an imaginary plant. And so what I do for the background is I try to use my large brush and I pick a random color. We can pick blue, we can pick purple. It's really, maybe we can pick brown, or we can pick gray. How about we do gray? So maybe it's a gray day, it's a lovely gray flower, and what I'll try to do is use a lot of water for black, because it's very powerful. You'll see. And I'll go around, and I'll paint the background. Maybe this is a bright cloud inside of a world that's a gray cloud. You have to take your time. Turn this off so you guys can see it a little better. So I'm painting the background. So this makes it a little better. Let's see. Take your time whenever you're painting them. Make them as fabulous as you can make them. The more time you give something, the more beautiful it becomes. The more pride you feel in it. So, you guys can see I'm quickly doing this. It's using a lot of water to make a little puddle, and then I'll get a little bit of black, and then that looks about right, and then I paint it. And if it doesn't look right, then I add more color. And if it doesn't look, I add more color. Okay, that looks better. So I'm going to keep adding and adding and adding. And you can have things dry and then paint them, and then dry again and then paint them some more, to get a really spectacular effect. That's what I would do. Being I don't have the luxury of time, so I can really show you in real time how long this takes. I'm trying to finish. You guys can see the gray is a red gray. It's a really beautiful gray. It's like charcoal. It's based on charcoal. Like wood. So I'll keep adding gray. You guys can see different shades of gray. Lots of color. And so, keep painting. I'm almost done. And try not to have any little white spots. You see a little bit of puddle happening? Pick it up. I always clean up my brush, pick up any puddle. And now for the bottom, what I can do, I'll show you, is that do it quickly. I always paint downward when I paint the bottom. Make it nice and muddy, like where roots grow. I paint over my roots so you guys can see. Like this is an old piece of paper. It's an old drawing. Alright, so that's about it. I hope everyone learned a little bit more about plants. I hope everyone had fun. And I hope everyone put a lot of effort in the color, because it's very fun to color these. Really fun. So there you go. There's your picture. Here, this spot's a little light. And here. So you guys can see. Turn this on. Pick up a little puddles with my paper towel. There we go. So we have this crazy and very vibrant cloud flower. And so I hope everyone had a good day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.